Okay. All right. So, everyone on Facebook and everyone on my Zoom meeting, it's the 12th meeting, I believe, now where we've had, and I'm going to try a new thing where I'm doing a recording. You'll see the side of my face a little bit on Zoom Live. So anybody on Zoom or on Facebook Live, hello, and I'm here tonight, and maybe you'll catch it if you don't get over onto Zoom. And anyway, welcome everyone. And if you have videos, we'll just go ahead and turn that part off if you're on Zoom, so we get more bandwidth, I guess. And anyway, I'll go ahead and start recording. And there we go. I guess I was already. So anyway, I just got back this week from uh, Michigan, and it was a wonderful clinic. And I think I saw Jerry on here. Jerry was at the clinic, and it was really just wonderful. And again, just lots of wonderful people, amazing horse experiences. I just am, again, I'm so thankful for this opportunity to do this kind of work. And um, I'm just seeing so many transformations on horses and people. And that's what keeps me going, because I've spent a lifetime trying to figure out how to spread the word and how to get the information out there. And thank goodness for the internet, and we can now talk to each other and see each other in real time and play around. So thank you all. And just like every week, I come here and I've had a long day and I'm not really sure what I'm going to talk about, and then I just get going. But I think I'll do like probably the last few times where I've talked maybe about a half hour, and then I'll go ahead and answer a few questions that I see. And I'm going to see if I can look at Facebook Live and see if there's any questions that come up during that one. And then again, I'll go into the chat here on Zoom and take a look at that. So let me hold on just a minute while I get I don't know if I can get the chat up today. Oh, interesting. Okay, we'll just go ahead and get started. One of the things that I think came up during this week when I was around horses and people, I realized how complex this energy language is, and how I'm trying to teach people what it's about and how to interpret the energy. And then I realize, oh my gosh, it's so difficult to give you really concrete answers to what does this mean or what does that mean when the horse does this or that. And I wanted to kind of give the analogy, like we have our human language and we have lots of words that we use, and we have words that are spelled differently, but they sound exactly the same, but they mean entirely different things. Like, for example, we could have the word see. It might mean to look at something, or it might mean the ocean, or it might mean a letter. And the only way we would know which one of those it is in the context of what the person was speaking about before. And it's the same way with this energy and with the reactions from the horses that we see. And a lot of times people are asking me um, in the clinics, or even on a question that they send me and say, my horse did this, what does it mean? And I have to say, I have no idea. It could mean so many different things depending on what was happening before that and what you were talking about or what you were doing with the horse. And then the interpretation of it is often complex, even if we know how it happened and what was going on at the same time. So just keep in mind that we're all kind of in this learning space together, and I'm trying to learn how to communicate this very complex energetic language to you and explain what is going on and explain all those nuances and everything that's happening. But at the same time, I I'm trying to figure out, what is the horse saying, what is the person saying, And it's all, am I communicating to the people right? I feel like I communicate with the horses okay, and then it's like, how do I give the everyone the information they need in a way they can understand? And a lot of times when I'm with a horse, and we go into, last week I talked about the neutral place where we're kind of in no thought, no emotion, just being with the horse in the present. And things can happen when you're in that space that no words could describe. It's like you're describing a place that doesn't exist in most people's reality. And so, therefore, in that space, it's very hard to say this is happening or that's happening. It's very experiential. And everyone that might be in that space may have a different experience in there. So there is no universal way to say this is what's happening in that space. I know what it is for me. I can guess maybe what horses are like in that space, but I can't know for sure. And that's kind of these unknowns, and that's what makes this both exciting and difficult to explain. So just so you guys know, if you're sending me a question and then you say my horse yawns more than usual, or it's like this is happening, and is what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know, no idea. Unless I was there, unless I was interacting with the horse, I can't tell you. It's like taking a sentence out of context of something, which we know our media or different people are very good at doing, and confusing people by that, because they take something out of context and then they say this is what happened and this is what it is, and you're like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. So just know it's kind of one of those things. Why I say it's so important for us to get in touch with our intuition is because that way then we can begin to interpret things on our own. And if you really start to be quiet in that quiet space, and you're listening to in your intuition, and you're noticing when you're with your horse that, oh, I was thinking this or I was doing this, and then he had this reaction, which seems like maybe that wouldn't have been the right one, but it seemed to make sense at the time in some way. So just know that, in science, we have people that say absolutes. This means this horse behavior means that, this horse behavior means this body language means that from the horse. I don't think it's that simple. Not when I start doing this work. It's so not that simple. And so just give yourself permission to play with this. And we can all get together and discuss. It's like, I saw my horse do this in this context. It's, wow, that's cool. So it kind of helps us build some more knowledge base on what's really going on, because I don't know that there's that many people. There are some people around doing this kind of work and this interpretation, but we're going to be looking at such nuances to everything that we're just going to have to start to kind of go, maybe that's what it is, and make a wild guess sometimes. And then that wild guess, the next time you go, oh, that was probably the wrong one. Or the next time you see the exact same behavior happen after you did the exact same thing, and you go, wow, this is starting to make sense. Perhaps there's something to that. But again, just like people have different dialects and different languages that they speak, I do think horses have some different ways they pronounce things, or the way they say it, that's slightly different, depending on maybe what breed they are, where they grew up, where they came from. And so we just kind of go, they speak a slightly different dialect than what I'm speaking. So let me see if I can learn theirs. So just go ahead and, like I say, play with all of this, have fun. We're all in this together learning, and we're trying to resurrect what we once knew as human beings and somehow have forgotten over the millennium. I can't even say I've been up too long. So we're just here doing our best, and we're kind of on the cutting edge of a lot of this type of work. And so I think of all of you who are on this site, and that we're all together and we're learning and we're building a basis of knowledge, and that is really exciting for me, and it should be. I would not should be, but I would think it would be the same for most of the people on this site, because I think we're all those seeker kind of people who are not satisfied with what we've been told, and we know there's other things out there and other explanations. So that's the main part on that particular topic that I wanted to kind of go over, is like, just know it's so incredibly complex, and you're not going to get it in a couple sessions, or a couple times being with your horse and starting to notice this. Just like if you were a baby and you heard your mother speak, and you could maybe make sense of some of what she was saying based on her emotions that she said while she was saying it, and you slowly gained words that meant something, and then you put those together and made some sentences, and then you were talking a lot, and you could make sense of the world in a different way because you began to learn a language and a way of communicating. And for our horses, we're like the infants. We don't know their language the way, and we're trying to learn it, and we're trying to learn these words, and their language is rich in emotions and feelings and intentions and pictures and those kind of things, which are very foreign to a lot of people, because in our culture we've relied on just the words and the written word or hearing a word, and we go about being busy and never really thinking about the depth of what those words mean, and that they could mean different things depending on how they're said, or when they're said, or with how much emphasis they're said. And the same thing is true with our energy language. So we are learning a new one. And I mean, I still feel like, even though I've been doing this for a very long time, that I still am not completely fluent. There's every time I'm out there, I'm learning a different dialect. I'm learning a different way to look at things. I'm learning different behaviors that I've never seen before. And I think that was what was so fascinating about the clinic that I did in Michigan. And one of the funny things was is that, I thought, oh, this is the one I'll get to do a bunch of writing, and we'll do a lot of groundwork and different things. And the most requested thing that to have me do during the clinic and for people to learn was the trauma release. And I mean, people would sit there, and it's not like the most exciting thing ever, because you're having to pay very close attention to very small things the horse is doing. And so, I'm like, wow, you guys want to sit here all day long and watch this? But it is, for me, it's fascinating because I'm in there and I'm paying attention, and I'm having this conversation with a horse energetically by paying attention to what their body's saying to me and what I'm feeling from them. And everybody there, they were so excited a lot of times when I would say, okay, I just got a feeling in my throat that it felt like it got closed off, and somebody else would go, oh my gosh, I felt the same thing at the same time, but I didn't want to say anything because I thought I was weird, or I got a stomach ache. And at just this point, and you pointed out you were getting the stomach ache then. And so what I'm giving people during this time that I'm doing trauma release is that I'm giving them permission to check in on themselves and to actually validate what's happening, and for them to know they can also do this. And I think what's really fascinating about the trauma release process is that it's never, ever the same. And every single horse that comes out and we do this on presents in an entirely different way. And their reactions are entirely different. And I think that's what makes it so fascinating and very complex, is that you've got to be, as you're doing this, you've got to go, wow, I've never seen that before. What could that mean? And what should I do in this space with that information? And really the answer is go back to the neutral spot, because all I'm doing when I'm doing the trauma release is waiting, and waiting some more for the horse to process the trauma that's going through their body that got activated through this process that we're doing, and watching it work through the horse's body, and for him to start to recognize these things. And so there's a lot of waiting. And what's so wonderful about this particular thing is that it causes us to slow down. It causes us to think less. So actually this trauma release, when you're doing it, actually makes you so much more observant of your horse. It's so much more observant of yourself because you're constantly checking back in to see where you're at. What did you feel? What to do next? But only in the present moment, not with a whole bunch of other thoughts going on. And one of the girls that was at the clinic, Carol, and I went to work with a horse after I left the actual clinic, and I was talking about how the only thing I do as I'm waiting for the release from the horse, once I've activated a trigger point on the horse and I'm waiting for the release and I'm waiting for all that trauma to kind of work through the horse, and that I go back inside myself and I start checking in from head to toe. How do I feel? What's going on? What's my emotions? And she was saying, and for the life of me, I can't remember what kind of meditation she called it, but she said, "Oh, I went to a meditation course, and that's what we were doing. Essentially, the same thing of what you're talking about." And it was called something kind of meditation. If somebody knows what it is, you can put it in the comments or let me know on that. So I don't act silly and uninformed here, but I've never actually gone in and done like traditional meditation classes kind of things and know all the different types of meditations. I'm aware of them. I just haven't really done them. So, I'd like to get informed on that. But it is interesting that, all of these things that are coming in and I'm doing them here, it's already out there and other people are doing it. And that's where, again, I talk about the internet of intuition. Where did that information come to me from? Well, I must have been doing it one time and thought, what should I do? What should I do? And it said, oh, just go through your body and check in. And it didn't give me a name. See, again, there was no need for the name to be given to the type of meditation practice that I was doing, but it came to me and in a natural way. And I think this is what's so cool about this work is we don't have to put names and labels and things on everything that we do. We're just experiencing. And really that's what horses are doing in their life. They're just experiencing. They don't have the need to put labels on things or anything like that. So anyway, the trauma release, it's so funny. I'm thinking, wow, is that really what I'm going to end up doing? And in a way, it's so incredibly gratifying to see horses begin to learn how to do that on their own and release their own um, stress and release the trauma from their bodies. And it's so gratifying and it's so necessary now because so many horses are stressed. Every single one I come across needs some of this. And every person I'm coming across is pretty much stressed also. And that's just a product of our culture and what we've been told is important in life. And I think for anyone that was on here before I started the recording part, we were talking a little bit about that and what direction I was going to go and how I was going to kind of keep my life in order and be able to spread the information the best way I can. And one of the ways I'm thinking is that I can't do this work by myself. There have to be other people that can learn it and start spreading this information around. And a lot of what I want to do is not get away from this contact with people because that's super important for me. And I feel like we're developing this community within the sacred spaces, sacred wisdom, and I see it more of a movement than it is anything about me. It's a movement, and maybe I have some part in that. And my goal is to get it out as much as I can to spread this information, not because of me, but because of the good things that I see happening because of it. And again, I think this came from the internet of intuition, and so I'm calling that a sacred thing, and I'm playing with it in that sacred space, and I'm holding it very dear to my heart. And I don't want any of thing to get corrupted within that space. So that's why I'm kind of slow in going, what am I going to do next? How am I going to proceed? Where am I going to go? Is because it all has to fit into that um, place where there's integrity and where there's love and sharing and caring for not only people but other animals and that sort of thing. So I have some things I'm mulling over, and like I said, I just want to reach as many people as I can, teach them what I can, and hopefully they can take it from there. And I'm sure there'll be people that can take it further than I do in the rest of my lifetime. And really, that's, is we're all kind of innovators in this place, and we're starting something completely different and new, and there's going to be some growing pains. I think I'm kind of feeling a few of the growing pains now, just because of how busy I am. But at the same time, I am so incredibly grateful that this information is coming out and that people are finding success and horses are enjoying us again, instead of, oh boy, here comes the human. It's like, yeah, here comes the human. Oh boy, we got a lot to teach them, because I think they have a whole lot more going on than we give them credit for. That's for sure. And boy, we're behind in this whole thing. We may think we're the smart ones. I sometimes wonder. So anyway, I am going to. I think at this time I'm about 9 minutes short of an hour, and what we can do is I'm going to open up. I think it's every single time I do Zoom, it looks different. I swear it messes with me so bad. Oh, there's my chat. Okay, I'm going to open up the chat, and then if you want to go to the reactions place and raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment or anything like that. And um, I'm seeing Courtney on the Facebook Live. Oh, thank you, Courtney. It's so fun for me. It's so fun to be out there and meet new people, and everybody that I've come across. I mean, it's just been incredible, and they've embraced me after all these years of being um, scrutinized and put down. It's like it's so wonderful to finally have a voice and finally be able to say what's really, really important. So if anybody wants to, you can go ahead and raise your hand, and oh, I see Jill. Okay, I will ask Jill to unmute, and you can tell us where you're at, and um, go from there. So there we go. Hi, Jill.
Hi. I just want to say thank you so much for what you do and what you're spreading, because it's a very emotional thing to be someone that has. I come from a place of intuition that I learned to shut down for a very long time, and this is just a beautiful, beautiful space. So thank you for what you do, and you're very much appreciated. And this will be a movement that goes far and wide. And I'm from Nova Scotia, Canada, so hopefully at some point I will get to experience some time with you. The other thing I wanted to say is and ask, I had the opportunity to work with some friends' horses on the weekend, and both of them very, very different, but I realized how much we enter their space without permission. And one horse was, he's a Mustang, so she got him as a 3-year-old and had a lot of trauma. I'm not sure that people realized he was getting a lot of trauma, but has learned to shut down. So it was just that experience of holding space with him, and I've gone through your book 3 or 4 times, and I just held space, and at the end of it I got up.
Oh,
and he touched my hand, and it was like, oh. So your work really matters, and you're doing amazing things, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
oh, thank you, Jill. And I think you said such an important thing about how often we invade their space without like letting them know and
Yeah.
giving, any indication we're going to come in, we just barge right in there and do it. And it's interesting that the more I do this work, I can go through several horses and maybe I don't touch them at all ever during that time, and we have this incredible connection despite the fact that I haven't touched them. I mean, a lot of times I'll do some things and show people, how to get a dopamine release or something like that, and I might touch them on the neck. And often, when just the fact of touching them on the neck will trigger trauma for that horse. And I
Yeah.
find that quite interesting. We have no idea. I mean, there's been some horses that I'm working on, and one of them, it's like, oh my God, they were like every part of his body had a trauma trigger point. And it's like, can you imagine
Yeah.
if everything that some human came to do with you, it triggered something like that, and you
Yeah.
weren't able to get rid of it? You just had to stand it. And then, of course, your option is just like Joe, you're talking about, is the horse has to check out then. So,
Yeah.
you know, I love that people here are getting, that place of, wow, I can just be with my horse without necessarily doing anything. But,
Yeah.
at the same time, so many of us want to ride, and I ride, and but I'm always in that space of being very conscious of what I'm doing, how that might affect that other being, and
Yeah.
how do I come across? Am I overbearing, or are they seeking it out? And I think that's such an important part of this work is reading the horse and learning how to know, what's going on, and are we too much? And even within
Yeah.
this kind of the trauma release, when I do that, I spend so much time doing nothing, and it's
Hmm.
interesting because that's the space that I think that the horse feels safety, like you're talking about, Jill. It's like, can it feel safe if all we're doing is being busy? No.
No.
But this is also one of those places where it's hard for me to explain that, once we get good at being quiet and being in non-movement around the horse, that we can actually be very quiet in movement with the horse.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
that's kind of the next step of when you feel really solid. Wow, I can hold that space, hold that emotion, hold that place in myself, despite what's going on around me, and I can include this horse in this safe space. So that's a great observation, Jill. And thank goodness I she the Mustang has you there to
He.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
It was amazing. And my friend that owns them said the next morning, she went to bring them in for the day inside, and he was at the gate, and he always waits for the second horse, and she has to go get him. But he was standing at the gate watching her, like, I'm ready to come in now. So it obviously shifted something in him to let a little bit of his personality shine through. So I just, if we can get the word out to people, the amount of pressure that we unknowingly put on them without even being aware. So this
Mhm.
whole movement and awareness and connecting with them is just so incredibly important. So again, thank you so much for everything that you do.
Yeah, thank you. And thank all of you, because oh my gosh, this would be nothing if it weren't for everybody that is on my site, that reads the book, that is drawn to this. There's a reason you're drawn to it, because in your soul, this
Yeah.
is the way.
And it's been a seeking for probably 40, 50 years for me. So, I always knew there was something and I was missing, but I didn't know what it was. And I feel like I'm not missing now, just
No,
experimenting.
isn't it?
Yeah, so it's awesome. So thank you.
Thank you, Jill. And I have at least 3 or 4 friends up in Nova Scotia now, so
Oh, do you? Awesome.
I could
Well, when we
head
get
that
things
way.
opened up at the border, we'll have to have you come up and see us.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for your comments. That was really nice. So I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Okay. So I will go ahead, and Tara has a question, so I'll ask Tara to unmute, and you can go ahead when you're ready. Hi,
Okay.
Tara.
Can you hear me, Jeff? Dr.
I
Susie. Hi,
can.
Dr. Susie.
Hi, how are you?
I really good. I have a validation and a question. So
Okay.
I had my retirement party here last night, and adults in my preschool team were all in the barn, and Moses was so personable with people. I mean, not, I mean, he has never done that. And the one girl even took a picture. She says, "Look, he's smelling my hair." And
Oh,
usually if people come, he goes back in the corner. So it not only has it changed him with me, but it's changed him. That's the first opportunity I've had to see him with a group of people. So that was all because of what we've been doing, I'm sure. My question is, I was in the round pen, and we haven't had a chance to do this yet because you've been busy and I've been a little busy. The round pens for him, circles are fast.
mhm.
And I was trying to send him energy to go slow. And I wasn't sure if I should like just physically get in his kind of, because if I walk into his space, he'll stop.
Okay.
Or if I can disengage him and he'll stop. But it's like, what, I don't know for sure what I was doing wrong, that I couldn't interrupt that pattern of behavior that the round pen meant fast. Because when I go to saddle him and start writing again, I don't want it to be that.
Right.
So,
And I wrote about just because this is so common. I had a story in my book about the horse that the girl had brought home, and he was racing around in the round pen. Like, that's what I'm supposed to do, and that's where we get into the difference between kind of behavioral based training versus relational based training, and it's like a lot
mhm,
of people are about oh, the horse, they get him in the round pen, and they may have limited understanding about what the round pen is supposed to do, and they get into chasing the horse around and then waiting for it to stop and turn and come to them, and so the horse becomes habituated to okay, the trigger now is the round pen, and when I get in the round pen, then I have to go fast. So it's nothing you're doing wrong on that end. What I would probably do with, and what I usually do with the horse like that, is I'll do one of two things. A lot of times I'll put him on a long line
uh-huh,
um, in the round pen, like if you have a 20-foot rope or if you've got a lunge line. And what I do is I start with a very small circle around me. They're just off maybe 3 feet off of me, and I'll ask them to walk. But before I do anything, I make sure in my mind I stand there in a quiet space. I make a very clear picture of the gait that I want and the speed that I want. I check in again on myself. Am I quiet?
mhm,
Am I breathing? I do all
mhm,
that check. And then I let the horse go forward. And if it starts to go fast, I will shut it down. I'll just say, no, whoa, I asked for this walk.
okay,
And you go back and re-show him the picture and the feeling of the slower walk. So I don't start at the big round pen all the way around and try to get him to stop. I get the circle, then I'll make a circle that's 4 foot away from me. And if he can go, and then as he's going, and then, okay, great. So when he's got the gait, yeah, that's what I wanted, just slow. And I'll even maybe be saying that as he's going, just want you to go slow. Just want you to
mhm,
go slow. You don't have to go fast. And that's kind of running in my mind, and that's all that's running in my mind. And then, the horse pretty soon goes, oh, what do you mean I don't have to race? Okay. And then you make the circle a little bigger, and you just get to the place where all of a sudden he realizes, wow, you're not going to ask me to go racing off. And very rarely do I ever train a horse, like if I'm lunging it or they're in the round pen, I will ask that horse to go off slowly every single time. I don't want them
Yeah.
just kicking up and going. It's like, no, we're going to do this in a polite and controlled way, and you're going to just stay in relaxation. And really, I mean, I've had horses at the clinics that I've done, and I've had them on the lunge line, and we've done this sort of thing. And I've done the very clear picture, and I go, okay. And the first couple of times I'll try to race through it, and then I just bring them back down. Like, you have to stay completely neutral when you shut them down. Like, no, don't do that, or you have to go, no, not what I wanted. I want this. No, not quite that. I want this.
Well-
So you're always just reaffirming what is you want. And pretty soon they go, okay. And essentially, it can happen in 10 minutes that they go, oh, you mean I don't have to do that anymore? And then they just go, oh, thank goodness. And then it's not an issue anymore. But what's really critical is how clearly you make your picture of what you want and stand firm in that.
And I had him on the 22 in the big grassy area. And I totally I understand that. I think what I did is, listening to this, I didn't keep him online long enough to reestablish that pattern before I took him offline, and
Yeah.
let him go. Thought, because he was super calm,
Uh-huh.
I should have, I get all back to go 10 than what you think,
Yeah. And
even
you know,
further than what you think.
yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
I
And I
was
think,
just, he's not ready.
yeah, the most important thing for me is them listening to what my pictures are, or and if you're writing, what the feeling of, like, I'll have someone sit and go, okay, I want you before you take off to feel what trot you want, how fast you want it to be, feel it
Yeah.
in your body first, and make a picture of it. And so I think that's the most important part of this is
Okay.
being quiet enough, first of all, to establish exactly what you want. And then it seems like they're happy once they know, like, oh, that's what you wanted? Okay, sure.
Hmm.
And that's probably the hardest one for people, because a lot of stuff we do with horses training, we do it kind of without intention and kind of just mindlessly, okay, now we're going to trot. Well, for me, it's like, yeah, we're going to trot, but what trot do I want? And I want to establish that
Right.
before I go. And once you get good at the pictures, that happens at a split second. It doesn't take
Okay.
like, oh, I have to sit here for 5 minutes till I figure out, no, it can happen instantaneously that you go, oh, that's the trot. Okay, go. Yeah. So I kind of,
Right.
Tara, wanted to go over some more that in depth on that one because there's a lot of people that have that issue and may have not done some of the things you did, and so it's good to go through that whole process of how I would start to fix that horse that just kind of
Yeah,
takes.
and that's really good point too, because the thing that is, again, so new and different for me is the mental picture part.
Mm-hmm.
And and he's so good at reading mental pictures. I just need to be better at sending them.
Yeah.
So that was a good comeback too. Yeah, great.
And again, it gets back to what I talked about at the beginning, where we're learning a new language. And how
Yes.
we forget to say the right words in the right order, or we forget a part of this, it's like a little kid. They're like, and they'll be there forever. It's like, yeah, and what? Because they haven't quite got the whole vocabulary of what they're trying, they know in their mind what they want to do, but they can't verbalize it yet. So they have this kind of like, and then it's so cute. So I feel like we're again like the infants learning this new language, and we're just kind of slow. So anyway, that was a marvelous question and a good point to bring up, because I feel like all of this is opportunity to kind of clarify a lot of things for people, no matter where they're
Mhm.
at in this. It's like when you guys bring something up, then we can expand on it and, hopefully get all of that information out there.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
Yes. So is anyone
I'll be
else?
seeing you soon. So
I don't know if Jill, did you have another question? Your hand's still up and I don't know if I didn't make it go down, or I don't know. If you have anything else you want to add, Jill, go ahead. If you do.
No, I was fine. Was I supposed to put my hand down?
Oh, I don't have it. You're asking me this. I have no idea. I just didn't want to be like, oh, Jill's head is still up, like the teacher didn't see, like, I'm over here. So no.
Oh, I didn't mean for my hand to be up. We're good.
Okay, well, we'll forgive you for this time. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So let me just look through anything. If anybody else, you want to put it in chat or even on Facebook. Let's see if I have my Facebook Live thing that's sideways, so I kind of have to read sideways. But go ahead now. If not, we're gonna kind of say good night, and we shall see you. I think I can do one next week. I'm not really sure yet, but I will let you guys know. And I think like I said at the beginning, I'm going to try to figure out the best use of my time so that I reach a lot of people. And, sometimes people want to do a private with me, and, it's been a little difficult because summer's coming on and I'm pretty busy. So it sometimes takes me a little while to get back and get you scheduled in. One of the things I'm considering is some kind of a group coaching type of thing where I could do sometimes that maybe people that are in Australia. I have a lot of people in Europe or Australia that are on a different time zone completely, and this is they're already sleeping. And so what I'd like to do maybe is offer some kind of a group coaching rather than just an individual coaching. So then people could pay a lesser amount and we could have a small group of people. And I want to keep that, again, small group of people. When I'm talking about maybe 5 or 6 max people on the coaching call, that we can all kind of discuss some different things that are coming up from them. And that would be a less price than a full hour with me. And that way we could actually bounce ideas off other people and different things like that. So that's kind of in my thought pattern. And I'm also, of course, still thinking about doing the courses. And I don't think it will happen this summer. I'm just so incredibly busy, and I want to take advantage of warm weather while I have it so that I can actually get out and do the work. So I kind of put the classes on the back burner, and I think that's a great time during the winter. Maybe not in Australia, that'll be their summer, I think. But in our winter, it'll give me some more time to really think through that classes and find the right platform to offer them off of. And we can have something to do in that cold time when we can't necessarily ride as much as we'd like. So that's kind of in the plans, is that I'll start doing the courses toward the winter time, toward the late fall and winter. And then that's, if anybody else has some brilliant ideas about where this should go or what would be a really fun thing to do, I'm open for suggestions on that. Because again, I'm the perfect example of when your brain gets overwhelmed, you have a hard time being creative because you're taxed out in a lot of different ways. So I'm gonna just go with that right now, and I'm trying to take care of my brain power and what I can do and how much energy I have to do it, and kind of you know, fit in as much as I can do within that time frame of still making sure I don't burn out in this. Not that the burnout is anything to do with the work, because it's not. Um, it's just the work at my house, trying to keep up with that, and also kind of figuring out everything from the kind of beginning and doing things a whole different way than I've done them in the past. So, you know, it's like starting a whole new thing. But, you know, most of the time we don't have an audience. You know, we come up with a business venture and it's like, okay, so I think about this and I'll wait for, you know, here's how I'll get all these people and then I'll do this. And, you know, so you kind of pre-plan everything. And in this case, I did it just backwards. And I had all these people and it's like, oh no, now I got to figure out what to do. So, you know, just bear with me. And I'm you know, thinking about too, is like, is there a way that I can maybe certify more people, have some different certification program or something so that we can get more people out there doing the trauma release, and they can, you know, go and do it, you know, because there's no way I could ever in my entire lifetime get to all the horses that need it. And if we have kind of satellite people out there that can start doing it, that would be awesome and great. So anyway, I guess I will go ahead and sign off for tonight. And I just feel so grateful and thank you all for supporting me, and not only just me, it's really about this movement and getting it out there. And I so appreciate all of that. And I know our horses do too, for sure. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you all for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. And I will do my best to be here next week and we will go from there. Thank you so much, everybody.